What's the biggest challenge to scaling up design systems in large organizations? If you work in a large organization, you know this is a headache, but fortunately, we have Nathan Curtis to help you answer that. Nathan is an expert in design systems and one of the principals at 8 Shapes, a company that does extensive consulting in this area, and a fixture at the Enterprise Experience and Design Ops Summit conferences. So the question for you, Nathan, what's the biggest challenge to scaling up design systems in large organizations?
So there's a lot of challenges in developing design systems, and you're in a comfortable place when you're making components and visual style, and you're developing all of your testing frameworks, and you're thinking about how your documentation is a really polished experience and growing over time. But the biggest challenge is actually developing relationships with your customers. And you have to think about what's the arc that you're going to be on as a system to serve an ever increasing number of customers. How are they expected to integrate what you have in your system into their product experience? And you're going to change again. So as you go to your next generation of a system, how are they going to be prepared to change with you? So the first problem that you deal with is, how do we roll this out to a large organization in a manner that's going to work well? And the answer isn't you don't roll it out to everybody in the first week. You actually have to develop relationships, almost put on white gloves to experiment with your best friends and those products that are undergoing change that your system can really help them with. You work out the kinks, you start to really smooth out the process, and then you start to gain greater early adoption. But the relationships that you have with those customers, it is effortful to identify them and essentially to acquire them, and then start to help them onboard onto the system. You're still helping them, but there's more of them. And eventually you get to this sense of mass adoption where your documentation, your communication, everything else needs to be really ironclad and thought through. And that arc takes time. It might take 6 months to a year to really get to something that is really mass adopted well. The second challenge is helping each of those teams understand how the system fits into how they make their experience. They often come with the assumption of this is a big redesign, but it's actually not. It might be a set of parts that they use in all of their new development of new features, whereas they might not necessarily need to migrate all of their existing legacy functionality that they're not focused on at a particular time. Eventually, they're going to want to incrementally transform their experience to adapt to the system, but it doesn't have to be that way from the outset. The third aspect is that teams adopt a design system, they start to develop a trust of the design system, and they really begin to value it. And then a generational change happens. The design system itself needs to evolve. And so a larger scale evolution of the design system can confront them with, I thought we already figured this out. We already adopted the design system, and now it's going to change. And so helping them understand the scale of that change and helping them really bridge from the old version of the system to the new one in a way that doesn't adversely impact their experience is another challenge that you're ultimately going to have to meet.
Nathan, that was great. Those 3 challenges are essentially product strategy challenges. So I think anyone taking your workshop on scalable design systems is also going to get a good helping of general product strategy. And we're really happy to be hosting you. Nathan Curtis is teaching that full-day workshop, Scalable Design Systems, through Rosenfeld Media in New York City on June 21st and in San Francisco on September 26th. You can go to rosenfeldmedia.com and learn more, or simply click through the URL we list here. Thanks, Nathan.